Welcome back. Well, this is the second week in a row that what I'd planned to say to you guys has been preempted. And this time, it's by real life. A friend of mine is going through a really nasty divorce that's just getting started. And she's leaning on me a lot for support right now. Mostly what she seems to need right now is for me to be there and let her vent and just listen. And I'm trying to do that, but it's hard because there's so much I want to say to her. But the things that I want to say to her have been playing round and round in my mind. And it's occurred to me that a lot of the things that I want to say to her are things that I learned through my EEOC fight. And those are things that I think might help some of you as well. So I'm going to say them to you instead of her. When I started my fight, I was sicker than I have ever been in my life. My doctors couldn't help me, and NASA made it very clear that they weren't going to. So I was going to have to do it all by myself. I was going to have to deal with my health and this fight all at the same time. And that was terrifying because I had no idea how I was going to do it. But I had to figure it out. So I made a lot of changes, both to my lifestyle and my mindset. The lifestyle changes I made were pretty dramatic. I knew that I had to feed my body the right food, so I went to a raw vegan diet, which is pretty extreme, but really helped my IBSD a lot. And I was a person who really liked exercising at the gym and pushed myself pretty hard. I used to lift weights, and so I had to ease up on all that stuff. And instead commit to giving my body some gentle movement every day without overtaxing it. And finally, I had terrible insomnia. And there, the best thing I could figure out to do was to go to bed really early in the hopes that I would eventually fall asleep and get enough sleep to function on the next day. And that worked too. Now, those changes helped me stay healthy for my fight, but the changes that I think helped me win my fight were the changes that I made to my mindset. I'm a person who has always been hyper-responsible, and I think that comes from having a sister with Down syndrome that I had to look after most of my life. And that hyper-responsibility served me well in my career at NASA, especially after I became a manager, because when you gave me a job to do, I was responsible for getting it done, and I took that responsibility very seriously. That hyper-responsibility came with a big downside, too. I was pretty tough on myself. I expected a lot, and I beat myself up a lot for things that really weren't my fault. And I knew that if I kept doing that during this fight, I was going to be working against myself, and I couldn't afford to do that, especially since my boss and plenty of other people were already beating me up plenty. Another mindset change that I made was learning to sit with my negative feelings. Instead of calling up Doug or a friend and venting to them about what was going on, which really didn't help me and only stressed them out, I learned to sit with my negative feelings by myself sometimes. And more than that, after I did it for a while, I learned that I could tolerate things that before I would have thought were intolerable. I learned to put up with a lot. Now, I shouldn't have had to. NASA dished out a lot of abuse that they shouldn't have. That didn't change the fact that they were doing it, and I was going to have to deal with it one way or another. So I learned to talk myself down from being angry, and I learned to encourage myself when I felt discouraged, and I learned to give myself a shot of courage when I was afraid. And one more mindset change that I want to share with you guys is that I learned to pick my battles, and that's super important. We only have a limited amount of energy, and that's especially true for those of us who are sick. It's easy to overtax yourself in this process, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And if you're not careful, you can wreck your health. And I made a lot of other mindset changes, but there's just one more that I wanted to talk to you about today, and that's that I learned to pick my battles. One of the things my friend was talking about today that really bothered her made me flash back to my time at NASA. It was about when her soon-to-be ex was rolling his eyes at her while she was trying to talk to him about something important. She said it was infuriating. And that made me flash back to all the times my boss rolled her eyes at me at NASA. And sometimes I didn't even know she was doing it until after the fact. I'd be in a meeting talking and she'd be sitting at the table in front of me, And people would come to me afterwards and tell me that the whole time I was talking, she was rolling her eyes. And it was equally frustrating to me that none of those people who told me that were willing to write it down or tell it to EEOC. They come tell it to me, but they expected me not to repeat it. And that used to frustrate me to no end until I finally realized that even if they had written it down, it really wasn't going to help me much. I mean, that stuff isn't illegal. Eye rolls and heavy sighs, those aren't illegal. It's not illegal to be unprofessional or immature or just a jerk. Circling back to what I was saying earlier about how we have limited energy, I decided there was no point in wasting any of my energy on stuff that wasn't going to help me in my fight. Wasn't going to help me win. So, partly out of spite, I learned not to react to that stuff. Now, today I've only talked about a few of the changes that I had to make, and there are many, many more. I could go on and on. But rather than do that, I guess I'd like to ask you guys to share some of the changes that you've had to make and how you did it. And don't be afraid to pat yourselves on the back, because these kinds of changes aren't easy to make. And if you've done it, you deserve a pat on the back. So, you guys share. Maybe you can encourage me and my friend and help yourselves in the process. I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully, I'll be on script next time. We'll see. Till then, take care and hang in. Fight smart,